Hello. My name is Karen Good, and this is my mentee, Emily Alvarez. And we are reading individual works that are about bearing witness.
I'm Emily Alvarez, and my poem is called Life Lesson Learned. I look up to the sky, and I ask God to skin my sins, because I have done wrong, and my sorrow is starting to shatter in bits. So I ask God to help me get out this narrow path. I cry to him on my knees to help me change and help me heal the ones I've hurt along the way. The ones that try to help me, but all I do is toss away and not show emotion and not a care that they was trying to help me from the unpleasant world out there. But all I do is toss and tear and not give a care about the unpleasant world out there, thinking I know the facts of the world like the skin color of my hand. Then I walk out the doors of my house unsure, torn, because I've been kicked out for having sex with a man. And the one kicking me out is my only fan. Thinking in my mind, where do I go, what do I do now? As time goes by, I realize you do wrong, the consequences are just gonna come back strong. Cause this life story I've saw and been told, and this life story ain't the way to go. So I follow this path and I throw it away, cause God has a plan for me in the right lane.
That poem always makes me cry, I'm sorry, because it's so good. My poem, well, I'm not reading a poem. I was reading a poem, but it's different than what's in the program. I'm now reading a story called The Land of Do or Die. Something hung in the air summer of 1999. Stayed by the heat, baking heat, and you are the bird. Something heavy hovered, ominous, ready to burst. It was more than the approaching millennium, the whole world's heart thumping with the threat of Armageddon. The song, Prince's Party Like It's 1999, first released in 1982, had, after 17 years, finally found its time and begun to play incessantly like a myth. If it weren't for the trees, the people of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, liked to have died. Mostly the children were fevered. 2 years before, a hearse carried through the neighborhood the body of a 6'3", 300-plus-pound man, many considered the world's greatest rapper. The author of the verse, "I spit phrases that will thrill you, you're nobody till somebody kills you," had sadly been assassinated. 9 days after the 24-year-old man was murdered in Los Angeles, his great black body was dressed in white, placed in an oversized casket, and toured his beloved streets like Bob Marley toured Jamaica. A long, grand procession followed in his wake, including his mother, his best friend, who was there, his weeping widow, who held their 4-month-old son, his 4-year-old daughter, and a mistress with no shame. By 2 p.m. that April Monday, hundreds crowded the block. Men wore T-shirts emblazoned with the dead's image. Women lit 7-day candles and scrawled the man's name, B.I.G, across their considerable bosoms. Neighbors cradled themselves in their windows, towered atop rooftops, and waited. The body rounded the corner of St. James Place, greeted with a roar of shouts and cries, hands in the air and weeping. But as the procession crept toward the man's childhood home, moving fast enough not to get mobbed, but slow enough to be respectful, the air became dangerously thin. Just as the lungs threatened to burst, literally out of nowhere, a loud, sharp guitar lick split the air, rode by the dead man's voice. A breathy, guttural was twice loosed on the mass like a sniper's bullet, the introduction to the Trickster's song, Hypnotize. Where the music came from is not certain, but heads fell back, knees buckled, and the children began to jump. They are sensitive children, and the energy was very high. The emotional complexity of the moment almost gave them permission to act the fool. The children jumped, first on the sidewalk, then onto parked cars. Up they leapt until they towered upon car hoods and jumped until the hoods gave. They jumped until they changed the thing, and still they did not stop. The music played, the body passed through, the children jumped. Police then, pepper spray and running, flattened cars, news crews, and a scattered people in the wake. Whatever made the children jump lingers, but the trees are keeping the peace. As best they can, the trees insist upon intimacy and community in Bed-Stuy. They lean over the neighborhood's hungry blocks like mothers, gently waving their limbs, breathing shh, shh, over the land the people named Do or Die.